Amid the darkness and horror of a world splintering apart, the army who were ancient at the dawn of time will march forth once more. We shall sweep away all that is chaos and disorder, for ours is the true path, and none shall deny us.
Very
Name
good.
that faction, Ed. Name that faction.
I was not listening at all. I was fixing stuff in the background. I was listening to you even less than I normally do. I'd ask you to
Brilliant.
say it again, but then you would, so I'm not going to do that.
No,
We're back.
that's one for our Lizard Men fans, that one.
All one of them. We're back for episode 33 of the Close Order podcast. We are doing well. Maybe. We'll see.
I think.
Yeah, it's a busy time. A busy time. How are you? You give us the update first.
I'm very well, thank you. I am getting very excited for this weekend's event. It's going to be really good fun. Obviously, with a couple of months off, effectively from hobby and games and doing much with wedding and honeymoon, I'm glad to be getting back into it. And we have got an odd number this week, so it looks like I'm going to be able to get to play some games with the vampires as well, which is very, very exciting. Even though it involves a lot of running around as a TO if you're also playing, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, that will be the case. But yeah, no, it's good. I'm a bit bummed out to miss this one. So I am having a busy month. I took some time off coaching at the start of the month because 1.5 dropped, so I knew I was going to be doing a lot of recording, a lot of practicing, making sure I knew what I was talking about. Then I have got my brother's wedding coming up in a couple of days, so I'm travelling from tomorrow. And I've got my anniversary on Friday, and I got my birthday on Sunday. So basically, I've had to condense an entire month's of work into sort of 2.5, 3 weeks, depending on which part of it was, which has been an experience. So I'm really looking forward to August when it'll just be a normal month. But it is, we're getting there. It'll be nice. I just need to get through the next few days. So I think this week, unfortunately, might be no video on Thursday. Just I was meant to record something today and haven't had time to finish recording it. So it's
The people will be up in arms.
Yeah, I would like to get it done. So I'm going to try and get it finished tomorrow morning. But I just think I probably won't have time, realistically. Who we got? We got a couple of...
It's very important life moments happening. I think you can be forgiven for taking time for the fam.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally, I would have something recorded ahead of time that I could fill in, but given the schedule has been pretty manic, I have not had time to do that, funnily enough. Got some of the regular faces. Good to see you all.
Go rogue and start recording stuff.
I mean, you could, but you can't log in. I did actually think about asking if you wanted to do that, but I also won't be able to edit it, so you'd have to do the editing yourself, which is the bit that you didn't do.
That would be a car crash.
Yeah. And I thought, you know what, let's just not complicate things and go from there. All right. Well, we are here for the Saffron Slam episode. And if you're here and you haven't already, give the stream a thumbs up. Always helps get picked up by the algorithm, YouTube, words, yada yada. Good stuff there. If you want to support the channel, you can by becoming a member. There is a Discord below, which is completely free. And if you are a channel member of Longbeard tier or above, you get to join the VIP section where the merciless ribbing of me and the general shenanigans happen. Good place to be. Obviously, I do coaching as well. Link in the description, the Close Order Patreon. That is specifically for coaching. And yeah, there we go. I think I've rattled it all off. We can just talk about things we want to talk about now, which is good. So, there are some pictures on the screen. Would you like to start off by telling us about your new army, you filthy meta chaser?
I'm sorry.
You should be.
I was getting grief because obviously I started with vampire counts, which turned out to be quite strong. And then I thought, well, it'd be really cool to make an undead Bretonian army. Also very strong. And then I thought, oh, these new shiny models look really exciting. Turns out Cathay quite strong as well, Edward. I'm very excited to see what they look like this weekend, how much they crush people's dreams. But I am taking some time over this, as we spoke about last time. This is going to be a real hobby project rather than a gaming project. So I've not even written a list. I've got all the models, and I haven't even put them into a list. I've not even attempted to write a list. I'm literally just building them and painting them. So it does mean it's taking a bit of time, but I now do officially have the legal minimum rank of Jade Warriors. I have 5 Jade Warriors, and I think they've come out all right, Ed.
That's good. Can you take them in 5s? Is it not 10s? Am I talking about backside?
I don't know if it's a legal minimum unit size, but in the rules you can have a rank of 5.
Excellent stuff. Well,
so I may not even have a legal unit yet.
I'm pleased that we've got there. As you can see, you've gone for a nice black and yellow paint scheme, purely because of your love of, I guess, mid 2000s hip hop or pop hip hop. I was going to say for those of us in our 30s or onwards, but I think that's just everyone here. Realistically, the old world is not a young person's game.
Not a young game.
No, it does seem to be.
For those of you that grew up in the UK, in the early 2000s, you may remember a band known as Blue, with classic tunes such as One Love and some others that I can't remember. We were at a food festival at the weekend for Flo's mum's birthday, and they were the headline act. And I can't remember what I thought of them when they were new and fresh in the early 2000s. They have not aged well. The singing quality was poor, and we left early. I've never left a gig early, but we just gave up and went home.
Thanks, Ness.
They sort of tried a bit of hip hop, didn't they?
Maybe ? I'm not sure.
There's some rapping in some of their songs.
Yeah. Has a Flavor says overcommitted. Their ranks of 4. Stop bragging. Just in terms of you having the legal rank of the Jade Warriors.
And the heavy infantry, are they?
I guess so. This says volume slightly lower. Thank you. We did multiple volume tests beforehand, but for some reason, what comes out of the recording isn't what comes out on the stream, and I am losing my mind over it. So thank you for letting us know, and I've tweaked that now. It should be suitable at this point. As you could see, as I was trying to flip between things, I was trying to get it so that you could actively see what was going on, but that's okay because we've gone from these models here, and do you want to talk about the army composition, the changes we've got here, the actual units, or the actual armies that you've got in the Saffron Slam? It's going to have to do. It's not a great thing, but it's on the screen, and every time I try to tweak it in the studio editor, it just goes live, so we'll leave it as is.
Cool. So we have a pie chart on the screen, do we?
We
love
do,
a pie
indeed.
chart. Fantastic. So Saffron Fantasy Slam, ladies and gentlemen, coming up this weekend. This is going to be the 5th fantasy event we've run now here in Saffron Walden, and this will therefore be the 3rd GT, or the 3rd 5-round 2-day event that we've run, and I think we're getting there now with the organisation. I think starting to feel more confident about putting these events on, starting to feel a bit more confident in the rules, more confident in the event pack, and sort of narrowing in on missions that I think are working. Obviously, the match play guide has thrown lots of items up into the air that we need to sort of trial again, but we've been sort of testing a couple of the missions in the local club, and broadly people seem to be thinking they're going well. But yeah, so what we try and achieve with the Saffron Fantasy Slam, and some of the lists this time around that we might look at suggest that may not be the case, but I'm really hoping that I can have a good chat with the players at the start and make it clear that we're trying to create an event that's more welcoming to newer players and less hardcore than other events might be. I think that sort of scene is well catered for elsewhere. There's winning a Saffron Slam is like it's not what I'm trying to make the event about, if you know what I mean. Trying to give out bigger prizes for other things like sportsmanship and best army and things like that. So I've never sort of banned people from taking strong lists. I don't really want to go down that route, but it's more about how their game. So we'll have a good chat with players beforehand, especially those that have got really, really strong lists this time around. But I think the new match play guide is encouraging some really strong builds that are coming through quite early in this new meta by the looks of it. So this time around, you'll see on the screen, we've got 10 factions represented this time, which is slightly lower than previously. So sort of half the factions are present. But I think that's kind of come about because 3 factions in particular seem to be coalescing a lot of players together. So Warriors of Chaos in their various forms, the Tomb Kings and the Vampire Counts have each got 4 players representing them this weekend. So that's 12 players in total, which is effectively just over half the field represented by those 3 factions. Mm-hmm. I guess unsurprisingly seeing a lot of undead, both Vampire Counts and Tomb Kings. I think they've obviously come out quite strong with the mission-based the objective-based play in some of the new missions, which I have incorporated into the mission structure. So they're coming out strong, and people are obviously taking them. Good to see Warriors of Chaos though coming up, and we've got. It's not all Warriors of Chaos Grand Army. We have got a couple of those, but we've also got Wolves of the Sea knocking around, which is good to see. So we've got a little bit of variety in amongst that. I think the Tomb Kings are all just Grand Army Tomb Kings, and obviously the Vampire Counts don't have a choice, so they're Grand Army. We are using the Renegade rules, by the way, as well, in addition. So, yeah, those three factions coming out really represented really strong. I guess I don't know whether that's standard in other events, starting to see sort of people coalescing around those. We've also got 2 Cathay players, which is exciting. Those rules came out, 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Feels like a long time, but that's just because other stuff has come out since.
Yeah, it's a long time in internet Discord. It's a long time for people to be whinging about them. So I think obviously 2 people managed to get 2,000 points painted in a couple of weeks, which is really exciting. Obviously balloons apparently are quite strong. I'm yet to play against any myself, so I'm only hearing this second hand, so this will be a chance to at least watch some balloon games and see how they're like to use and to play against. By the sounds of it, they run the risk of being slightly interactive and not that much fun to face, which is why I think it's going to be important for those 2 players to actually focus a lot of effort on ensuring their opponents are having as best a game as possible, if it is looking like the balloons get quite oppressive in that. So one player's got 2 and the other player's got 3, so we're not seeing evidence of people sticking 6 of them in a list, which I guess is good, but 3 still seems quite a high number, and in even 2, if they're as good as everyone's saying, then that might be quite a lot. So we'll see how that goes, but I am genuinely excited. Brand new faction, the first new faction in fantasy in however many decades, to see them pop up and see them start being represented quite quickly at events. I think it's really exciting for models. People will have, especially some people come to this event, will have never seen on the tabletop before and barely even heard of before for the last couple of weeks. So that's really exciting, I think, to see that come through. And given that I am a user of a legacy faction, to see that legacy factions still make up 1/3 of the field, albeit predominantly vampires, that does fill me with just a small amount of joy that there's still 33% of people are just like, fuck you, Games Workshop. We're not letting our factions die. We are going to play with our soldiers as much as you tell us we cannot use these soldiers and they are completely illegal and we should not be using them. We should be arrested for taking legacy factions to events. 1/3 of the field are still doing so. As I say, it does help. The Vampire Counts are quite strong, so that does give you a slight advantage, and there's 4 players taking them. But we do have lizards, we do have demons, we do have dark elves, so that's very exciting as well. I don't know what your thoughts are looking at that, Ed.
Yeah, no, there is an interesting spread. Good to see some of the less represented factions on the table, but it has gone very undead and Warriors of Chaos heavy, plus a couple of Cathay lists. So truly heartbroken that this is the one that I won't be attending, given my prior event schedule. We have we're not going to talk about it now, but we do have some exciting stuff potentially on the cards for future Saffron Slams, which we need to pin down some details on, which maybe we don't pin down some details on today, but got some really fun things in the work there. We do have also the event pack here, and we don't need to go too deep into it, but as a rough overview, do you want to talk about the pack? I've got game 1 open if you want to just briefly talk about. We don't have to talk about each one. Also, thank you to Steve and that rat bastard. I do appreciate the donations. I've now put it so that you can see it, but I have turned off the voice. I think the Tuesday streams from now I'm going to have, as long as I remember, with text-to-speech turned off, purely because my guests can't hear it, so it leads to some weird over talking, and then we'll turn it back on for Friday's fun times. So
when you're flying solo,
when I'm flying solo, yeah. So what's the thinking? You've got game 1 here.
Yes. So just before I get into game 1, just so everybody knows, 2,000 points. Using the grand melee and combined arms composition rules, no allies, and using the Renegade Legacy Pack, as I've said before. So missions, I've tried to keep a lot of the stuff I've already been using in previous Saffron events. So you'll see straight off the bat on game 1, kept a diagonal deployment zone, which I really like. I think it works really well. It makes quite makes cool looking boards, looking the way that armies line up. It just looks really, really cool. So I've kept some of that, and then in some of the later missions, I've kept some of the funny sort of fun elements of objectives moving around and stuff like that. But try to include some of the new rules as they come in. Now, conveniently, game one, which is effectively Breakpoint, was in the match play guide, so I haven't had to massively change that. As you'll see, the deployment zone has one key change from Games Workshop's deployment zones, and this has come from play testing at previous events, is that if you look in the very top left-hand corner or the very bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that deployment zone doesn't quite go to the corner of the map. It sticks 3 inches out. What that allows you to do is that corner, if you go right to it, if your deployment zone lines up with the corner, you basically can't put any models in any kind of rank and file situation in the corner. So actually, it might look like you've got quite a big zone, but you're kind of squared off from anywhere near the edges. So just bringing it out like that, we tried that at the last event and the previous event as well, and that worked really, really well. You can still fit smaller units up at the top, and actually the point at which a big rank unit can kind of deploy towards that end starts quite a lot earlier. So it was interesting to see Games Workshop put diagonal deployment zones in Match Play Guide, which I think are good because they just create a different aesthetic, but not have that kind of quality of life improvement that I think from people that have actually used the diagonal deployment zone to have not put that in.
Some would say, but yeah, maybe they weren't playtesting. I'm sure they were.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't like to cast any aspersions about the amount of testing that went into the Match Play Guide.
Yeah.
But just something simple like that, it suggests that they've not actually used that deployment zone to deploy an army, because you realise very quickly that might work for 40k, but it doesn't work for Old World because your units are bigger and have to stay together. See, just simple things like that. But yeah, so first round, just nice and simple, bit of Breakpoint. We do like that. And just basically kept it the same as Match Play Guide. Mission 2 is really where we start getting in some of the scenario scoring from the Match Play Guide. So Strategic Locations 3 I've put into this one, along with their new quarters deployment. I'll be interested to see what this will be the first, obviously, attempt at a quarter deployment. So I'm going to be interested to see what that looks like on the board. In theory, it should be quite similar to Diagonal, but just a little bit restricted. And obviously, you start a lot closer together. So I'm going to be really interested to see how that plays out. And I've just put the 3 objectives on the Match Play Guide. It suggests you should put 1 objective in each deployment zone and 1 in the middle. I think in my mind, what that creates is 2 objectives that are basically safe, and you just fight over 1 in the middle, which feels the same as like King of the Hill. So kind of what's the point? So actually, if I put all 3 of them out in the open, as a player, you're not starting on any objectives, so you have a opportunity to pick the fight that you want to try and take, whether that is the middle one or whether that is one of the side ones, or you go for the 2 side ones, ignore the middle one, however you want to play it, really. So I'll see how that works out.
Sure.
As with all of these, it's especially these early days events that we're only a couple of weeks after Match Play Guide. There's not enough information to decide what works and what doesn't yet. So it's going to be really good to watch players play this and see what works and what doesn't, and take that feedback and hopefully just keep improving the events as we go forward. We then move on to game 3, which again we go back to the diagonal, and the reason I do 3 diagonals on the first day is just so that I can have the terrain laid out in the diagonal fashion, and then at the end of the day swap it, so when game 4 comes around and we're back on long ways deployments, I can just do 1 terrain change on Saturday evening or first thing Sunday morning, rather than have to flip it between rounds and mess things up. So stay on the diagonal deployment. This one we have old Geoffrey. He's a fan favourite, Geoffrey de Mandeville, the first Earl of Essex. He will move across the battlefield, and he will be worth 100 victory points at the end. But we're also having domination in there as well. But immediately after the first domination rules came out, and it became apparent you could score 800 points, 900 points on domination, I have toned that down. That was just I could just kind of straight away see that was something that could very much dominate the game, if you excuse the pun. So that's now worth just 100 points per quarter at the end of the battle. So you've got up to 400 points to play with. So we'll see how that goes. I may have toned it down too much, but 200 points for each quarter sounded quite a lot. So we'll just see how that goes. And I've kind of taken all the faffy stuff about having like double the unit strength, all this sort of stuff. It's just like you control it or you don't control it. And then that should hopefully just make it a bit easier for players at the end of a 3-hour game on game 3 on a Saturday when they've been playing for 9 hours, to just total it up without making hopefully too many mistakes. This one I have play tested at the Saffron Club against the Beastmen. I've decided I still don't like Vile Tide, even with slightly reduced casting that still deletes all of my Blood Knights in one shot, which I don't like, losing 500 points of my army in one
My
go.
heart bleeds for the Vampire Counts player.
Graveguard are quite good. Just leaving that out there if anyone hadn't realised. But it worked quite well because I was ahead on points, but then at the end of the game, my opponent had got Jeffrey and a couple of deployment zones, which pushed it back into a draw, which I think is quite good. I think just those kind of tweaks just to push you backwards and forwards from sort of crushing wins to small wins or small wins to draws and things like that. I think it's good to think about. We get on to round 4, which is a bit of a bastardization of flank attack and strategic objectives 2.
Yep.
Both just outside the deployment zone, but you've got the flanks either side, where again, like I've done previously, you've got to have a decent amount of your army in your flank. So between 300 and 700 points of units need to be in your flanking force, and you get bonus points if your flanking force kills some stuff. So I'm hoping to try and incentivize people to use either left flank or the right flank and put something quite significant in their flanking force and actually try and make that an impactful part of the game. And then obviously you'll be hoovering up points over the course of the game from both the strategic objectives in the centre. So see how that goes. And then last but not least, we have the Old World Intense Energy Ritual, the Towie Ritual, where this is a new mission where I have taken some 40k stuff. Do apologise, please don't kill me. That I think works quite well, and seen about porting that into Old World. So fundamentally, it's strategic locations 4.
Oh, he's gone. He mentioned
you do have an option.
Oh, you lagged out there. You talked about 40k, and then they got you. The internet just cut out. Anyway, now you're back.
Big Brother is watching. So I've just ported some stuff across, but fundamentally I've started with strategic locations 4, so you'll get your points over the course of the game for that, and fundamentally you could just fight a game doing that. But there is an option where at the end of your turn you can declare that one of your units that's controlling an objective marker is attempting to complete a ritual. And if that unit is still alive at the beginning of your next start of turn phase, the ritual is complete and that marker is removed from the battlefield. So you have an ability to delete objectives over the course of the game. So don't know how that'll play out. I haven't tested this one. I think it sounds fun because it's fun in 40k, and it's just, we'll see how it plays out in Old World.
Sure.
But I thought that'd be a laugh. See how that goes. That's the final mission. So we'll see. And I've used that kind of offset deployment zone, which I kind of quite like to have a play around with on that final mission.
Sure.
So there we go. That was super quick, but I thought that was all right.
Cool. All right. So that's the event. And obviously it is this weekend on July 26th, running through to July 27th, my birthday. Not that, that matters. But, yeah. How old am I?
I was hoping you might be there to grab a trophy on your birthday.
I wouldn't take it back with me. I'd make you hold it at the same time.
Yeah, but now I actually have to get you a present.
Yeah. It's all right. I've never bought you one. How old am I? I have forgotten how old. I think I'm turning 32. Well, I feel like once you hit the sort of landmark ages, you stop counting. And I know I've stopped counting very quickly if I am 32. But yeah. Anyway, let's move on before I drift further into just lack of brain ability. So what we're going to do is we're going to look through some interesting lists. And you've picked out 2, and I've picked out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So very, very similar numbers. But I think there's some fun stuff in here that's worth talking about. So I reckon if I do a 3, if we whip through together, and then you do one of yours, then I talk a bit, and then you talk a bit, and we'll try and spread them out, because you should have picked more lists. We didn't discuss how many we were going to do, and we normally do 3, but I've decided that this is your fault. So let's start off by having a look at Brian Carmichael's list. Yeah, absolutely. There are 2 Cathay lists, and this is the Cathay list that I like the most, just thematically.
Yeah.
I like it because there are 4 Shigangan riders, so there's 1 Lord and 3 Generals. So already you've got all of your character points spent on not balloons. So that's a good, start in my map book. We've got we've got basically a great illusion spectral doppelganger caster here with the Monkey King's Wisdom, which is a weapon that does 1,000,000 points of damage on a level 4, Law of Yang Shigangan Lord. But this is just going to roll, there is a 1 in 3 chance that he doesn't get Spectral Doppelganger every game, which I respect, but I don't agree with. This is more risky than I'm willing to go. Then there's triple generals, all of them just going level 1 battle magic, so they can go hammer hand as required. And then Intercore, we've got 25 Jade Warriors with the War Banner, just a big brick hand weapon shields. 13 Jade Warriors, hand weapon shields as well. Icon of Heavenly Fury to turn off Fly there. 13 more Jade Warriors, loads of halberds. 2 cannons with the Ogre Loaders, and then 2 Sky Lanterns with the Iron Hail Guns and the Sky Lantern Bombs. So the 2 lanterns are very good, obviously. But then there's a lot of stuff in here that is not the most cutthroat. So this feels like a Saffron Slam version of the 2 balloon list, I would say. So obviously, we know balloons are good. Where they get really, really good is when you combo them with the characters, because the characters do have additional rules, but also can stack more wounds and saves on them. And there's only 2 cannons here, although they can, shoot twice, once per game, or rerun a misfire. And then there's a lot of infantry troops. So I like what Brian's gone for here. This is an interesting list, I think. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so Brian messaged me in advance and sort of went through how he'd kind of changed it, because I think he's done well at a couple of previous events, and has definitely toned it down for this, which is exactly what we want to see. So as you say, he's dropped some balloons, no character balloons, and I think we'll see how it plays. I don't think we've got enough data on Catholic yet to know what that looks like, but sounds changed, hopefully toned down enough that it's more fun to face. Interesting, the conversation as well going on about the rule of 3 on characters, whether it should apply to the whole page, i.e. both the Lord, the Shugengun Lord and the Shugengun General are effectively one choice. You can only take 3, any combination but only 3, or whether they should be separate. It's something that was only raised with me sort of after the list was submitted, so I hadn't really considered it as a question, but I know some events are starting to rule that if it's on a page, you can only take 3 things from that page of the journal. I don't know what the actual rule is supposed to be. I assumed it was.
I don't think anyone does. It's not
different
clear.
to a Lord. Yeah.
People are going to tell you that it's clear.
Rules, right?
It's in my opinion, not clear. There are arguments going on about it at the moment, and I can see arguments for either way. And in terms of balance, I can see arguments for either way. And honestly, I think in terms of balance, just in general, not this list specifically, I think it's probably better just to cap it, because if you're ever taking more than 3 of one data sheet, whether it's the Lord or the hero level character, you're probably doing some bullshit. And I'm saying this as a man who loves to do some bullshit. So I'm not judging. But the only reason you'd be taking 4 or more of something is to do some bullshit. So, with that in mind, maybe people just start reducing what you can take. But yeah.
And do you think that should apply to units such as the balloon, which are both rare choices and mounts?
See, the way you phrase that, that's an unwinnable question, because do I think balloon should be restricted to 0 per army? Perhaps. Do I think other chariots should be restricted? Oh, okay, hold on, here we go. This is a difficult question. Do I think it's a problem if someone plays a Heralds of Darkness list and they bring 3 characters on chosen chariots, and then they bring like 2 or 3 more chosen chariots as well? I don't think that's a problem. Do I think someone bringing 6 balloons is a problem? Sure. So it's not a one-size-fits-all, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's more about the power level of the unit rather than the actual concept of the restriction in that case.
Yeah, it's just how spammable things are and how good they are. So, like, if you look at a Chaos list, you can very comfortably go 3 dragons, but even if you tried to limit it to only 2 of the same mount, it doesn't matter, because the 3rd dragon's a Warpfire dragon. So, as we find by Bretonia swerving and weaving and dodging all of those nerfs, if you put one-size-fits-all restrictions on, a lot of the time it kind of just doesn't hit the thing that needs to be hit, or unfairly punishes other things. So, yeah, it's more of a conversation to go with 6 blocks of state troops. You can do that because... Oh, no, you can only go for 4. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think 6 blocks of state troops is a problem, Gwyn. But it would be illegal under those restrictions. So maybe for your own good, people should stop you from running 6 blocks of state troops. 1's really good. The second one is passable. I think if you get to 3, you maybe want to start diversifying your list a little bit.
Yeah, third one doesn't know what it's doing at that point, does it?
No, I think so. One size fits all balance that never hits Bretts and always hits Beastmen. I'm suddenly in favour. Screw you, Callum. Okay, so I actually have 2 coaching students who are going to the Saffron Slam number 5, and one of them is Ed Adlard, and Ed has a pretty good record. How many games in a row at tournaments did he win when he was back playing Exiles? Was it all of them? I think it was all of them.
Basically all of them.
It was, yeah, I think at tournaments he basically just didn't lose with Exiles. And this was a while ago, and obviously the game's moved on a little bit. But he is a man who is good at the game, and also is bored of playing without a challenge. And that's why if we scroll down, and the reason I want to highlight this list, you'll see 9 Grail Knights and no Pegasus Knights. Obviously there are still the characters.
Hell yes, Ed. This is the energy we want to see.
Absolutely. It's not how I'm going to write my list to come to your event. I just want to be very clear. But if we look at Ed's list here, we've got a big brick of Grail Knights with the Banner of Shalons turning off standard shoot. That's just cool. Some mounted yearmen to bunker a character in. 3 units of peasant bowmen, because more drops is good, and also having some scoring, some cheap scoring, and some firepower is nice. A big brick of men at arms, which is just a solid list. 8 Knights of the Realm with magic resist 1, and then a damsel to go in the brick of I guess this is going in the Knights of the Realm. I forget. We worked on variations of this list. We've also got a Prophetess level 4 Elementalism with Lore Familiar and Power Scroll, really doubling down on what they're good at. So Grail Knights are real good at killing stuff in combat. So instead of them having AP2, giving them AP4 means that even your heavy armor, hand, weapon, shield units are going to be, reduced to 0 armor save. So this is doing a thing and doing it well. There's also the really nice Paladin build.
Obviously, you need when those Grail Knights charge, you need to break whatever they're charging. Otherwise, you're just stuck, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the classic Bretonia problem, but normally they don't have that problem because they're super mobile and also their characters hit like a truck. Does still have 2 good characters. So there's the Duke, Ogre Blade, Syrian's Locket, Knightly Temper. So this is the 5 attacks base at strength 5 base with an Ogre Blade. On top of that, getting an additional D3 attacks and rerolling all hits. So this thing will kill most units it touches. It doesn't necessarily want to go toe-to-toe with a dragon from the off, but if you wound it a little bit, you can probably get away with it. And then we've got the Paladin. I really like this build. Virtue of Duty means you can't join a unit, but that's not a problem because there's no Pegasus Knights for this unit to join. So he's gone tanky with the Grommel Great Helm, so it's only 3 wounds, but it's T5 with a 2-up save, rerolling 1s, and then obviously the Blessing of the Lady as well. And on top of that, gets 1 point of combat res from Virtue of Duty, 1 from the Battle Standard Bearer, and 1 from the War Banner. So it's a combat res 3 Battle Standard Bearer that flies around. So it's very similar to the sort of Chariot BSB that I've liked running, those sorts of variations. It's a bit squishier, but it's a lot more mobile. And obviously also has first charge as well. So this is just a really nice little unit that you can use in combination with other units to make sure you crack a tough nut. If you're worried about your characters getting tied up and, reduced to not doing anything, a Paladin with 3 combat res is a good way to add to that. So yeah, I think this is just a fun Bretonia list.
He is absolutely perfect for a cheeky flank charge into that pesky Graveguard unit or pesky thing that won't block of infantry that won't shift.
Absolutely.
If you Grail Knights in the front, this guy in the side, your combat res is going to be massive and you'll really shut theirs down.
You'll feel really good about it up until they survive with about 6 models left and get grown back to full next turn. I'll do one more, then I'll throw it over to you. Let's have a look at Ian's list. Now, Ian, I've played Ian at events. Ian is absolutely lovely. And Ian
Good
has... That's so rude to say. As someone else's follically challenged, I can't believe you do this.
That's not what I meant, Ian. I'm sorry.
Cancel this man. Cancel
Don't
this
let
man.
brother turn against brother. We can be bold together.
So, anyway, moving on, you scum. We've got Ian's list, and Ian has been playing vampire counts every time that I've seen him at an event, and he plays with a lot of rezzing, with a brick of Graveguard, all those sorts of stuff. It's like the list but with less screams and more rezzing ability. So, He's gone Grand
freshened
Army
it up
Tomb
here.
Kings, and instead of Mortis Graveguard, he's gone Tomb Guard, which we all know are worse, but it's just cool to see them in action. They do have some benefits. They strike at initiative instead of at strikes last, because they have halberds. They can also have hand weapon shield in halberds, and that is genuinely a buff over Graveguard, because you can only go great weapon, which is probably still correct, or hand weapon shield, so you've got to make a choice there. Icon of Rakaf gives you a free reform at any point during your move. That's not when you move, that's like every time you move. And I know I've said the same word, one of them was capitalized, one of them wasn't. Every time you move that unit, with like I think maybe one restriction on there, you get to make a reform. It's really, really good. You can overrun and reform. It's shenanigans aplenty. There's a brick of skeleton warriors with Nikaran flanks, so they never fall back, never give ground when you beat them. A big brick of Vishabti with great bows, double casket of souls, and a screaming skull catapult, backed up with so many characters. 2 necrotechs to give extra attacks to the units they're in. One of them giving poison. Obviously, poison not as good as it was, but now it's quite a nice buff to have on melee units, in my opinion. If it's easy to get anyway. A High Priest who is level 3 for Necromancy. Then we've got a High Priest who is level 3 who's also Necromancy, and the Hierophant with Lore Familiar. Level 1 Illusion, Royal Herald, BSB, Charm Shield. So it's very much just his I'm going to res a lot of models build, but changed from one undead to the other undead. And I think that's just a fun thing to see.
He didn't want to diverge too much from type there, really, did he?
I wonder.
Trying to paint the bones a different colour.
Does he have different models? Because he's not using Games Workshop official ones. So I'm wondering.
They are different models.
Okay,
yeah.
I was because from memory I was wondering if they would just suit, if they could be somewhere in between the two. But no, that's good to know.
Could be. No, he's definitely gone for a new army. He's just put sand on the base instead of mud. So yeah.
Excellent. Bought the same models, painted them differently. Fantastic. Well, I've done 3, so let's go through. Do you want to talk about Gwilym's list? Gwilym, who is here in the chat.
Oh, hello, Gwilym. Welcome. I'm very excited to see your Dark Elves. So the 2 I've picked are Legacy factions because I'm a Legacy simp. And Gwilym has proudly declared on the internet, so it must be true, that he's going for the solid 0-5 and the free ticket to the next Saffron Slam. So he's investing now for return later, which apparently, according to Chancellor, is more than what we should be doing. So his list is titled "Stop Trying to Make Witch Elves Happen. They're Not Going to Happen."
True.
So I am excited to see whether this is as bad as Gwilym suggests it might be. But I'm hoping it won't be. I'm hoping he's gonna pull something out of the bag and turn out he's got like the counter to the balloons that no one had noticed. And suddenly he's just going to be popping balloons left, right, and centre, and it's just going to be like a kid's birthday party or something.
You pop balloons at kids' birthday parties? Cancel this man!
If I was a dark elf, that's what I would do at kids' birthday parties. Just go around popping all the balloons. Yes, he's got a lot of stuff I don't understand. So the High Beastmaster is sitting there with a Dragon Cloak and Talisman of Protection with a Biting Blade, flying on a Manticore, which we do like to see. Supreme Sorceress, the level 3. Elementalism with the Lore Familiar. So I'm assuming it's going to be riding a Black Dragon. I'm not entirely sure what spells we'll be picking for that on the dragon.
So he's got 15 Repeater Crossbowmen, 6 Dark Riders, and 5 Doomfire Warlocks. So we're definitely going to be seeing Plague of Rust in there. That's a good one. Potentially we could see Travel Mystical Pathways, not as good as it was, but still pretty decent to have. And then the third spell, almost certainly going to be Wind Blast.
Yes. Okay. Cool. And then last but not least on the character front, Death Hag on the Cauldron of Blood with the Rune of Cain.
Which reminder...
I don't know what Cauldron of Blood does.
So it's basically, think of Skaven from previous editions where they could put their Screaming Skull Bell inside of units of Clan Rats. That's what it does. It provides buffs in some way, shape or form. Even with being able to do that, I don't think I looked at it for more than 30 seconds, so I can't tell you any more than that. But that is what it does. And there's no Ogre Blade on this Death Hag, which I'm not upset about because I did not respect that build.
So I'm assuming that Cauldron of Blood is going to sit inside a block of 22 Witch Elves.
Indeed.
Banner of Harganeth, which
plus
does
1
a
AP
thing.
on your melee attacks.
Plus 1 AP. So combine that with a bit of Plague of Rust. And if you can somehow engineer that charge to go off with all those buffs, they might do some damage with their additional hand
If they
weapons.
get there, they'll do loads of damage. but it's
Yes.
getting there. They're T3 elves that have no defensive ability.
No armor whatsoever.
But it's
I
okay.
think the balloons
The
might be
name is
popping
stop trying to
some
make
elves.
witch elves happen. They're not going to happen. It's not like Willem's going, this is the meta. I think Willem is very aware that he's taking models that he wants to play as opposed to models that are good.
Definitely. There's one of our locals, Rick, will be absolutely over the moon to see Gwilym bringing the Witch Elves because he's a big Witch Elf fan himself. He just sees them die quite a lot.
Yeah.
So we'll
he's in for a treat. He'll see them die a lot this weekend, but they're beautifully painted. So, and I've told this before, so just to keep it short, Gwilym is an incredible painter. Really, really lovely models. And we went to an event back last year, October, November, and we were both playing the same Dark Elf list. And I won the event, and Gwilym won Best Painting. So between us, we are one functional human being or one functional Warhammer player. I think that's unfair. Gwilym is already a functional human being. We're one functional Warhammer player between us. He has incredible Warhammer painting skills.
Oh, well, I'm now extra excited to see this list in the flesh. So that's great. Yeah, as you say, 15 repeater crossbows, 6 Dark Riders, 6 Dark Riders, 5 Cold One Knights. Mm-hmm. Stupidity is no barrier, and then 5 Doomfire Warlocks on Dark Deeds.
So I haven't done what to do for Dark Elf yet, and I don't know if I will, because I think there's like 6 Dark Elf players remaining, and I'm not sure if they're even still alive post FAQ. But just to talk briefly about some of the choices, Doomfire Warlocks went from being like super underwhelming to now I kind of like them. They're one of the better ways to do range damage with magic missiles now, because they still get to pick their spell from Dark or Demonology. They can pick the Summoning, which is obviously cast on a 9, but they're bound spell level 2, as long as they've got unit strength 10 and a unit champion. I've seen people go for 7s, 6 or 7s, and I think for what they are, I don't hate them. Like, they're one of the better ranged output choices that you can take. They are rare, so they're not scoring, but, you know, it is what it is. Cold One Knights, despite stupidity being a real barrier to entry, I think they're still just one of the best units in the book. Again, they're not in course, they're not going to score, but they do hit real hard. Obviously, Dark Riders are really nice. I like 6s. I think if I'm playing Dark Elves, I might go to 4 units of 6s, so that's good. Repeater Crossbowmen, I love that Gwilym has gone for 15 models instead of like 10 and then a Razor Standard.
Choose one then, yeah.
It drives me nuts whenever I see the Razor Standard, and like if you do the maths on it, you're like, I'm expecting to get 2 6s to wound. Whereas if you just took the equivalent points in more shots, I think it averages out to more damage into most targets anyway. So yeah, obviously there's the Witch Elves and the Death Hag, which as Callum points out, you can get a ward save from, apparently, so that's cool. I don't hate this list. The Beastmaster is interesting. I like the Beastmaster with the instead of a biting blade, and he is squeezed on points here, so that's I think why he's gone this way. But is T5 the Manticore in the Renegades pack specifically. So if you also pair it with the Shield of Grond, that makes all incoming attacks -1 strength. That effectively gives you a budget T6 model paired with these, you know, whatever dragon you're running. So I quite like that. I mean, I'd go a Prince on dragon, a Beastmaster, and then a Sorcerer on foot. But I think, yeah, like the choices, if this was submitted to fix my list, I would go through, I'd have a whinge about this, but then I'd say, I know you like it, you know, you're bringing it for a theme, so that's fine. And then I'd go, you know what, actually, make this unit of Doomfire bigger, make the Cold One Knights bigger. I quite like that. I think that works. So, just to point out, because the list is a bit self-depreciating, I think you've written a good list for a bad faction, so excellent stuff there.
It's the 0-5 on there, Ned. What do you reckon? Is Gwilym going to get a win?
It's hard. Not into this field, I think, realistically. And I would make some changes. I don't love the Sorceress on Dragon here. I think if you go 2 dragons, having one Sorceress, and one regular, I think Dark Elves do the best double dragon where one of them's a wizard still. But otherwise, I think I'd just squeeze the point so I had a Prince on the dragon, and then on foot had a Sorceress, and then obviously I'm not spending over 500 points on a unit of Witch Elves.
A wizard.
Yeah. Cool.
No, well, best luck to you, Gwilym.
All right.
I believe in you.
Back to me. So, I want to talk about a special guest for your event. The good doctor, Luke Blacksil, is coming, and he's bringing Wolves of the Sea, titled We're Going to the Dogs. There are going to be some. I'm not sure if the names are references here, but I know that he does like to name his units. When it was Bretonians, when I played him at an event, it was all French names, and these are, I'm assuming, more relevant names. I like the theme here. We've got the boys from Benidorm, Leave It Out Gov, Wasp in My Pint, Dirty Dick and the Razor Mix Football Hooligans. I don't know that you can say that. Marrowbone Jelly, Meaty Chunks, Ashley, Setsuna, Trev, and Tona. Anyway, the theme here is that there are... it's basically Benidorm. It's boys on holiday, and I think that's a cool theme for a list. So, big fan of that. We've got Chairman Eddie, who will be sat in a chair by the pool on a Chaos Dragon, Favour of the Gods. Just, a Chaos Lord coming in under 500 points. If you want to go Lord on Dragon, this is pretty much what you're expecting to see.
That's your best bet.
Miss Mirror, the Exalted Sorcerer. With that name, I was almost expecting it to be Slanesh, and I think would be very fitting for this theme.
Yeah, it's gone undivided there, Red. I'm disappointed with that.
Yeah, it makes more sense. It's more efficient. And also, it's been clarified now, if you're on a chariot, you have to buy the mark twice, once for the character and once for the rider. But yeah, just a Blaster Caster, Demonology there. That makes sense. Then we've got another Exalted Sorceress. In this case, exactly the same. Just a couple of upgrades. Some Berserkers, some Horsemen, some more Horsemen, a big unit of Chaos Marauders with hand weapon shields. I do like this because I think people are sleeping on Marauders, honestly. They're a very a very cheap per model unit for a very expensive army. So you can put a lot of combat res and wounds that are relatively tanky on a point quite easily. So I do like that.
25 or 200 points. That's not bad, is it?
Callum says, put a gun to my head and I could not tell you the Slanesh signature spell. I think it gives you Strikes Last, which is fine, but there's an item that does that, so just buy the item. And it's also not Slanesh linked. Double units of Warhounds, no Vanguard on these, which is interesting. That is the standard for Warhounds, but maybe they're being used in a different way. And then we've got 2 Gigantic Spawn and Nurgle, very good stuff, and then 2 Shartax. This all makes sense. It's like a grab bag of what you'd expect to see coming out of Chaos over the last year or so. I think for me, I really like the Gigantic Spawn. Huge fan of those. I've gone off the Dragon Ogres. I probably would have just spent more points in core, but I think the list is good. This is a solid list. I think it's not as tuned as some of the other lists, but I think it is decent and piloted well. Could definitely come in at a 4-1. I think it might struggle if it runs into balloons, which at an event of this size, 22 players, including including you, you're always going to play against the good lists. So, which is nice. Like, it's great practice if that's what you're looking for. But it does mean that there's no way to dodge the things that you might find difficult, whereas at a bigger event you sometimes can. So I think this might be stymied potentially by the Cathalists, but we'll see. Who can say? We'll find out. Find out this Sunday on a Instagram post near you. Do you want to plug your Instagram while we're here? Because that's where people will find out.
Elmo Miniatures. Good shout, Ed. Thank you. Elmo Miniatures. Check us out. We'll be posting photos and posts all weekend about the event. So love doing that. We didn't say earlier, if you are a channel member, if you have paid to be a part of the Close Order faction, you will get you can get 10% off your Saffron Slam tickets. So if you are watching this show and you think, I'd like a bit of that Saffron Slam action, do join up and take 10% off your ticket. You can do it all through the Discord. You can message me on there, and we'll get you in for cheap. But yeah, check out my miniatures, and hopefully that'll be all of the exciting photos from all over the weekend. And I guess one thing I didn't say earlier, Ed, before we continue on the lists, just what you were saying there about using an event such as this, which is slightly more chill, to test out different things and test how you go into some of the better stuff over the course of the event. What I tend to do on my 40k events is have the top sort of 4 or 5 tables as like competitive terrain on the tables. So in 40k events, that would be like the UKTC or the WTC terrain, something like that. They'll be on a competitive layout, so that in theory, over the course of the event, if you're winning lots of games and you're using the event to practice for something that's bigger and more serious and a bit less silly, you will eventually, probably after your second game, you'll find yourself on the standard competitive terrain that you can then practice and be a good player against other good players over the course of the event, and then everybody else, all the other tables, plays on the fun stuff. I was been waiting until the match play guide came out to see if Games Workshop were going to suggest a terrain layout, and then get to my terrain guy that makes all of my really cool terrain, and get him to make some sets. Unfortunately, Games Workshop didn't do that in the match play guide. They've given a weird way of placing player place terrain, which it's just not going to happen. So what I've decided to do is go down the TSN arena route. Rob, Honest Wargamer, he has on his website has some really great free to download sort of terrain PDFs that you can use, different layouts on there. And it seems that obviously from his event and other events that this seems quite a good way of building a balanced board on your terrain set at the start. So I've commissioned my terrain guy to make me some sets of those. But obviously, Ed, that requires 6 foot by 4 foot boards to play on. And currently we're on the small. So step in Ginger Steve, one of our members, long-term member of Close Order, and
patron of the arts, if the arts are Warhammer.
Lovely gentleman.
Yeah.
I obviously, if anyone's bought gaming mats and terrain, it all starts to add up quite quickly into quite a large number. And Steve messaged me, literally, we were just in a conversation on Discord, and he really wants to come to Saffron Slam, but doesn't like playing on the smaller mats and wants to play a couple of 2.6k events, which you definitely can't do on the small mats, and said, I will spot you for that. So I'm going to hopefully sort of repay him in free tickets for basically the rest of his life. But he has kindly purchased 6 foot by 4 foot mats for me. So they won't arrive. They may not arrive in time for the September event because the people we're ordering from are having some dramas on their website and can't even place the order till mid-August. So the chance of them getting them for the first week of September seems low. But they should be all in place for the teams event in November, which, because Steve has been so generous, I have agreed to increase to a 2.6k teams event in August. So we'll be new competitive terrain, new mats, and a bigger format for that weekend, which I'm really looking forward to. So that's going to be really great. But I realised I forgot to say earlier a massive thank you to Ginger Steve, Ed, so I hope you don't mind that.
No, of course not. Huge supporter of the channel every time we can. Thanks, Ginger Steve. I think we should. Couple of points in there. Obviously, the bigger mats, great stuff. I have mentioned a couple of times I don't like the smaller mats, but it's a logistics thing. You can't justify buying extra mats just off the back of them because you're using them for your 40k events and the Old World events. So Steve buying you a load of mats, incredible. Now you can run the bigger events that I think people are more keen to play at. I mean, bigger table size. I will say, I don't think it's actually affected how much I've enjoyed the events. I haven't really noticed it much. I have made some choices that I, instead of go for, hey, there's Steve, hey. I have made some changes in my list building approach, so I haven't gone for like full avoidance lists because it's harder to do. But yeah, it hasn't affected my enjoyment of the event up until now, but I am glad to see them. And also bigger events. Obviously, Rob, friend of the channel, Honest Wargamer, really lovely guy, not sponsoring this video, but do go and check out his events down at tsnarena.com/events. He has his own website now for all his events, so if you were looking for them before on Eventbrite and you can't find them there, go to his website, because Eventbrite take a pretty unfair cut of event tickets, so that's where you can get them. But he's been running some bigger events, and everyone who I've talked to about them has said they really enjoyed the 2,600 points, so I'm also keen to do some bigger stuff. I don't really know why it's 2,600. I feel like it should be multiples of 400 because it makes the restriction
I don't know where that number's come from.
I think he just liked the sound of it. I would have assumed 2-4 because then you get an extra 100 points of core, 100 points, 200 points of characters, which you shouldn't probably go an extra 200 points of characters, but we will because it's Old World, the first edition where it's all characters all day. 100 points more in rare or 200 points more in special. It's nice and easy maths. But yeah.
I think Rob, to be fair, when he's done his 2.6k events, has added that the character limit is still 1,000 points. So you can't spend the extra points on characters. So I basically, when November rolls around and we come to sort of sort out the event pack for the teams event, I will look at how Rob has done his and see if can shamelessly copy that if that's what people like doing and people have enjoyed it and think it's useful.
Sure.
So watch this space for that. But I was thinking towards the end of the year anyway, look, I was going to sort of go back to everybody that had come to my events over the sort of first year I've started running bigger events and say, do we like the smaller boards or do we want to commit to going to bigger? I was sort of getting the vibe that people would prefer to be on the bigger mats. So I was kind of preparing myself to buy new mats, but that probably wouldn't have been until 2026 realistically where the finances are at. So it's great to be able to do this now, hopefully Steve has very kindly sorted that for us, so very much appreciated.
All right, lovely. Brian's coming in flaming. You don't understand my list. Off you think it is suboptimal, or I take hammer hand on the Shigenga generals. Feel free to let us know in the comments how it works then, Brian. Cool. All right, well, let's move on to the rest of the lists. Other friend of the channel, Scott McHugh, obviously sometime known as the Duke, is here with Vampire Counts. And, I mean, you've seen Vampire Counts before. It's got a Mortis engine, it's got a Wizard on foot, it's got a couple of Banshees, It's got a White Lord. Why am I pointing it out? Because he's got 34 Graveguard, and I just think that's funny. He's really doubling down on the scoring, and I think that's
500 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty solid strategy. I am on board with that. So he's got a huge brick of Graveguard. He's gone into Skeleton Warriors as well, whereas normally you would go more into zombies, but yeah.
I prefer skeleton.
Skeletons. He's still got one unit of zombies that you can buff up. Maybe it would have been better to find some more points and go 2 units of zombies at 20, and then maybe cut a few Graveguard. You wouldn't have to cut that many. It's only 71 points for that, so you could probably find a couple of points to get a second unit of zombies. But I like the theme here. It is full in on scoring there. Bat Swarmers as well. I'm really interested in seeing how Swarms do in terms of scoring for core, because they are obviously core units a lot of the time, so I do like that. And then 3 Fell Bats. Fell Bats are just really funny. Very cheap for what you get. They're a very mobile, annoying threat piece, so good stuff there.
Yeah. Interesting, he has decided he's put the Crown of the Damned on the Mortis engine, which is the 4+ ward stupid.
Yeah, it is a risk, but I think the 4-up ward is really nice to have, and given that you re-roll the stupidity test as long as you're in range for your BSB, and if you're not in range for your BSB, you've misplayed, I think it's probably within acceptable parameters for risk.
Yeah. It happened to me once against a Beastmen player I played a couple of weeks ago, where I did roll a 9 into a 10 and didn't do anything for a turn, but it didn't kill the game, if you know what I mean. Like, it was annoying because I couldn't get the reserve move off, but a lot of my stuff was already committed into combat then, so obviously kind of missed out on a few bits, but it was nothing that I couldn't handle.
Yeah.
And I was grateful for the 4+ ward at later points when I was getting Vile-tided.
Sure. Perfect. Next up, we've got Nick's list, and Nick is the other coaching student I have for this event. So, this is a list that we've put together because we were like, what's the sort of like linear list that we can put together for Warriors of Chaos? Yeah. And I think we've got a good version of it here. So, the points in characters are very squeezed, so you've got less upgrades than you might expect. But we've got a Chaos Lord, Ogre Blade, Favor of the Gods on a horse. Great stuff. Got a shield in there, 2-up armor save, still T5, still got 4 wounds, pretty beefy. Brian's still responding to a video like he's like 30 minutes ago. Brian, there's not much point typing if you're not live. I'm responding to you, but you're not responding to me. Anyway, we've got the dragon here. I think the Exalted Champion on dragon is really solid. Yes, it's T5 and only 9 wounds, but you do still have the Crown of Everlasting Conquest getting you a 3rd save, which is really nice there. Yeah. Sorcerer Lord, level 3 Demonology Lore Familiar. This is to absolutely buff the Chaos Knights to the 9s. There's 2 units. One here, Magic Resist 2 with the Brazen Collar. One here, Magic Resist 2 with the Brazen Collar. We think Magic Resist is real good. Real good. So, you've got 2 units of Chaos Knights, both of them with some Magic Resist 2. Unfortunately, no Magic Resist on this dragon here, just because we can't fit it in. But then if you go down as well, you'll see a couple of gigantic spawns as well. So there's a real threat saturation point there. Icon of Darkness for -1 to be shot at, and a Charm Shield on this unit, so you're just a bit better in a challenge. But yeah, it's just a lot of violence, basically. It's a direction I think Warriors of Chaos are going to like going down. A dragon a Chaos Lord General who can go in with the Knights, and then a Wizard as well. And the fact that you can fit all three in is frankly ludicrous. I think it's really solid.
I mean, it's fast as well, isn't it? It's going to cross the board incredibly quickly. So if you are trying to rely on shooting it, you're not going to get much chance before it's in amongst you.
Yeah.
With a lot of units that aren't going to go down quickly.
Sure. But yeah, good stuff there. All right. I'll do one more and then you can do yours and I'll do the last one. Nick Boucher. Now, I'm not coaching Nick. Nick is a very good player. He is the captain of Team France. And
I'm not sure he needs coaching.
No, but I have been whispering in his ear, and I have persuaded him that he should test out the Forest Dragon list that he's wanting to. We were talking about lists for a little bit. So he's gone double Glade Lord on Dragon, and you can juice them up in multiple ways. So you've got a 4-up ward save Dragon here with a Biting Blade, so you also get the 4-up armor save with your shield. And then we've got the second Dragon, this one's the General, which has got a great weapon with magical attacks, -1 to be hit in the challenge, an always-on 5-up armor save, and an always-on 5-up ward save. Just really solid. Hard to deal with. A pair of them, they can fly around together to avoid challenges, or they can fly around solo and kill stuff without champions, or get flank charges into units without characters, yada yada. So, we've also got the 12 Glade Guard. You have to take some. You may as well make them above minimum, I think, given that you can only score if your unit strength 10. So, Banner of Midsummer's Eve, I didn't say... I guess it's not the end of the world. It's a very cheap magical bow that gives you, I think, a reroll to hit. It's fine. It gives you a magical shot in case you need to snipe out banshees in some way. 2 units of Deepwood Scouts. These are good. I really like True Flight Arrows. Arcane Bodkins on things that aren't going to move makes sense, but any unit that is planning on moving around, True Flight Arrows are good. They give you ignore, cover, and quick shot. Then we've got some Glade Riders with Arcane Bodkins, because there's the Banner of Springtide in there as well. And they've got some magic resist from the Obsidian Lodestone, and then another unit of Glade Riders with True Flight Arrows. There's a lot of mobile scoring in here, and from, just a lot of output and 2 dragons. So it's 1,000 points in characters and 1,000 points in core units as well. And I just think that's neat. It's a pretty fun Wood Elf list.
Yeah, it's going to move rest. You're just never going to be able to tie it down, are you, with that? That's just he's going to be able to dictate the engagements against any of these big infantry blocks that are knocking around.
Yeah.
So get them as and when he wants them.
It's just a shame that there's no Brazen Collar that you can put into Wood Elves, because if you could give all of the dragons magic resist too, I'd definitely skimp on some of the other upgrades and go lighter on, some
chuck the Obsidian Lodestones in.
Yeah.
Is that not worth it?
Magic resist 1 for 20 points it doesn't feel great.
Not enough. No.
Thank you, Callum, for being a member for 11 months. I think we hugely appreciate the support. Grail Knight says, will Edward ever recover from wrongly accusing someone of moral ham-handing? Also another great stream by Eddie Order off YouTube. Thank you very much. And Steve says, you're welcome, by the way, Lewis. Kitting out an event venue is something cool I can do, so thanks for letting me help you out, mate. That is... aggressively nice. It's like, thank you for letting me buy you things. But yeah, what an absolute gent. Really appreciate that again, Steve. Perfect.
Legend of our time.
Absolutely. Now, you've got another list. Let's talk about your next list, and then we'll round out with the last one I picked. And your list here is Matt Eves and his demons called Don't Make Me Angry. A caps at the
I
end.
suggest he's already angry based on
so.
the capitalization of that title there. Yeah, you mentioned maximum violence on that chaos list earlier, Ed,
Yep.
and I'll take your maximum violence and I'll raise you this entirely Khorne list. 2 Bloodthirsters, Great Demon of Khorne, and frankly, obviously, it's really cool as a Khorne list. But the main reason I picked it, and this is something that I've just missed from previous list reviews, you can get an upgrade for your Bloodthirster called Many Arms. Just add arms. I like it.
Sure.
So he's done that on both of them. Then big block of Bloodletters of Khorne, with Hellblade and the Great Standard of Sundering, which again sounds cool. 2 units of Flesh Hounds. Got Vanguard on both of those. And then 2 Skull Cannons of Khorne. Hell yes.
That's
this
pretty
man is just going to hit you very hard with an axe in the face and shoot you with some cannons that might not.
The cannons are pretty decent. They're one of the better units, I think. The Skull Cannons, yeah, they're solid. Because they're still decent heavy chariots. On top of that, they have some ranged output. If I
They
remember
do have the risk
correctly,
of just kind of charging off in a different direction, don't they?
yeah. Well, the entire corn list is impetuous for some reason. This is a puzzle that I've been trying to puzzle out for a little while, but they get a lot of downsides for being aggressive, but not really the upsides as well. It's an interesting one, but they still kind of get impact hits and stomp attacks, so they're not bad in combat. They're pretty happy to get there. Multiple many arms. I hadn't noticed that on my quick flick through. Are you allowed to take the same one? Let me just double check. Is it
no.
extremely common? Yeah, Oh no, it is extremely common. It is okay. You can take multiple of this one. It gives you +1 attack, as you might expect from having many arms. But yeah, we are safe there. I like it.
How many extra arms?
This is
quite
just
a big number.
violence.
Just getting one attack for many arms.
I had someone on Fix My List asking for how to make Khorne work. I think this is maybe the most workable Khorne that you can go for. If you're willing to maybe drop the 110 points, has a flavor pointing out it's 55 points. Drop the 110 points for the many arms here, and then maybe squeeze some other points out somewhere as well. You can probably fit in a level 3 wizard like a Tzeentch one. And now that doesn't work fluff wise, and I understand that, but I think it does make the list better. So something to play around with. Is it 55 in Demons of Chaos? Oh yeah, demons don't get nice things. They don't get nice things, so yeah, it's that expensive.
They could just pick up an additional hand weapon.
One with a flail.
Save them having to grow another set of arms.
Yeah, one with a flail, one with a great axe. I like that. I think I liked the flail more prior to the FAQ because it's AP2 armor bane 1 multiple wounds D3, so it kills big stuff. But the Great Axe is AP3, and it does have Monster Slayer as well, and Strikes Last, which is, its own problem sometimes. But
did the Blood Flail get updated? Because this is a legacy faction.
No, of course not.
So it's still the old flail?
It still only applies during the first round of combat, but theoretically, if you overran into a new unit and then you were flank charged, it would work that way. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, and I hope he does well. I think there's a lot of very good lists here, so it might struggle, but I'd be very happy to see it do well. So that'd be cool.
Yes. I think looking at it, I think 50% of the lists are really quite strong, and then 50% of the lists are a bit more normal.
Yeah.
So hopefully, as long as those two kind of packs differentiate themselves quite quickly in the event.
Oh, they will. Don't worry about that. They will.
Everyone else will have a good time.
Yeah. Perfect. And then finally, there was a David's list, the Trace in Warhost. I did want to have a quick look at because I just like Trace. So this is sort of a very standard what I'd expect to see out of Trace. We've got a couple of units of Sister of Avalon, one with the Ruby Ring of Ruin, no Bow the Seafarer here. A couple of units of Tracian Woodsman. I like going up to sort of like 13 or 14 on these if I can find the points, so maybe it's worth dropping some rare. But the Sisters shoot really well, so it's hard to make that choice. 23 White Lions with the Lawmaster's Cloak, so they're protected against magic missiles. And then we've got a Prince on a Dragon, Noble on a Griffin, and an Archmage with Illusion, Sacred Incense for -1 to be shot, Obsidian Lodestone for magic resist 1, Cedar Rebirth for a regen save, and then a Tracing Graveblade as well. Not guaranteed in any way to get Spectral Doppelganger, but could roll into it, and if it does, it's got a pretty good weapon to hit with, but otherwise it's just there, providing -2 to hit, -1 through Sacred Incense, -1 through the Glittering Robes as well.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
That should be really cool.
Yeah, solid, eh?
Good to see. I haven't seen a Tracian Warhost list in action yet, so very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's my list for the Open Order Summer Sesh this month, of which I've played none of my games. So I realised before this stream that I just not lined anything up because I was so busy. So I shot out a couple of messages. I need to pick those up if they've responded. But yeah, perfect. Well, do you want to do the pairings and we'll have a quick look at any spicy matchups?
I have done them. So they should be live if you hit refresh, those of you who are coming. I'm immediately scared because one of our Cathay lists is playing me in the first round. The triple balloon list, I get to face with the vampires. Maybe I'll bring a good vampire list for the first round then, and then I'll swap to something silly for the rest of it.
Fantastic.
See what those balloons do to my Graveguard.
Yeah.
See if I've got any left after the first turn. What else is spicy on there?
So from the top, we've got Wood Elves into Andy's Warriors of Chaos. So this is a full pressure list, I would say, into the Double Drag Innovation list. So that's going to be an interesting proof of concept. If it does well here...
Can he catch it?
it'll work. Like if Nick's, because this is Andy's list, which Andy has some lovely models converted from a mixture of Tyranids, Dark Elves, Chaos, a mixture of stuff, and plays. I'm not saying the same list, but has like definitely a lot of similar elements in, because he's got a heavily converted faction army, so it's harder to add additional stuff. So if Nick's list works into this, it's a good proof of concept to show that it does work. If it doesn't, he's already having problems and he's locked in for another 4 games. So I'm gonna interested to see how Nick gets on there. Cathay into Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings are one of the armies that theoretically don't get a shot off the board, so that's interesting to see how that one goes. Tomb Kings
is
here.
A Tomb Kings list with double Necrosphinx and a dragon, so there's some juicy targets
That's
there
true.
for the Cathay.
But also it's theoretically fast enough to catch the balloons, so little column A, column B. Ian has got Tomb Kings with his big brick of definitely not Graveguard into Wolves of the Sea. So it's going to be boys on tour into Wet Undead disguised as Dry Undead. So that's an interesting matchup, just because there's full violence here and full defense here. So that's cool. We'll see which one breaks first. Warriors of Chaos into Tomb Kings. I don't think we looked at either of these lists specifically, but again, it's a very similar sort of pressure into tankiness. Cathay into the vampire counts. Enjoy. Let me know how you're getting on.
I'll get to win, whatever happens. So if I crush them into the ground, then happy days.
I love the optimism. Do shoot me a message if you get a chance at lunch and let me know what your opinions are, having faced against the balloons for the first time.
You know what, actually, I think that's worked out quite well, actually, because I will get first-hand experience of what 3 balloons does to arguably one of the stronger factions in the game. So if I feel like I go through that game and I have no chance whatsoever and I get absolutely annihilated, then I will start. Yeah, that will give me some food for thought. For future
I was
events.
double checking. I thought there might have been 4, but you're right. There is 3.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Francesco's list, Vampire Counts into High Elves. So this is very much an interesting one, and I've played this matchup with Trace. I think Trace can do okay into it. They can weather the storm. They just have to worry about the screams a little bit. Tom says, I've spent 18 months playing Ogres and Demons. I have no idea how to use my 3 balloons, so you'll be okay. That's pretty good. Well, in that case, it's perfect for you as well, because it doesn't matter if you win or lose. You get the bye, and you get a practice game into an army that is theoretically, a slower faction, so you get to practice dancing around them a little bit.
Yes, you get behind me.
Yeah, absolutely. David says that's a scary first round. I think they were all a scary first round. Matt says, tried out my balloon for the first time yesterday. They're great, but the shooting is fine, not scary. But what about the bombs? What about the bombs as well? Because they do drop bombs.
And these are bombs you don't have to move over your opponent to drop on them.
You only have to move within 6 inches. Having been on the receiving end, they are...
That's not how a bomb works. Just saying. That's a grenade.
We've got a full send list from Matt Crawford into Ed's Kingdom of Bretonia with no Peg Knights, so this will be interesting, because he's gone double dragon, and Silver Helms, Illyrian Reavers, Sisters of Avalon, so shooting backed up by pressure and dragons. You know what would play really well into that? Normal Bretonians. You know what's going to play worse into that? This list, so it'll be an interesting trial through fire, I think. So that's good stuff there. We've got Errantry Crusade into Tomb Kings. Again, we're seeing a lot of like immovable object and unstoppable force matchups. Demons into Vampire Counts. That I was going to say that feels unfair for demons, but then I also look at the list of what armies. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'd like to put them into round 1.
At least the demons will get to kill a lot lot of stuff. They'll just charge into it and start making a mess.
There will be skulls taken. And then you'll have to hand them back so the resurrections can happen. But the skulls will be taken momentarily. Now, here's a good one. Pip into Scott McHugh, and these are 2 of the nicest people in Old World that I know. Both of them super, super lovely. And Pip also...
about Pip's list, actually,
no, but I think it's similar to the one that we looked at last time. So it'll have some tweaks, but it's still got the Bastillodons in, if I remember correctly. I had a quick look. So
promised me an All-Saurus list, but that didn't occur because the trophy this time around, I haven't quite got them yet, but once I built them, I'll send some photos around. But they're a big slan sat on the trophy.
There's less skinks. There's only 32. That's pretty
Yes.
light on skinks by Lizardman standards. But yeah, this will be interesting because we'll find out if this list has enough juice to get through Undead, especially 34 Graveguard. My feeling is maybe no, but it'll be interesting to find out. And obviously, you don't have to just kill things to get points. There are other ways to play. And then finally, we've got Gwillem into Nick's Warriors of Chaos. Excellent stuff. I think this will be, first of all, Nick's really lovely. I really enjoyed talking to him. He was actually the reason that I put the foot on the accelerator and started doing coaching. I've been thinking about it for 4 months, and then he messaged me to ask about it after the last event. So Gwillem, you'll have a great time, and then Nick as well will have a nice time because Gwillem's lovely. So this is I'm very pleased. Firstly, that Ed, who a little part of me is like, I get to see the Grail Knight dream beaten out of you, and you can go back to playing efficiently. But also, I want you to do well with them. And then Nick also just gets like a really nice first game, and you can ease into the event, the pair of you, and have a good time. So yeah, I'm looking at this. I think there's some great stuff going on. I'm really, I was going to say bitter. Bitter's the wrong word. I'm bummed not to be here, but I will be making attempts to get to not the next one in September, but definitely the teams event.
Teams event after that for sure. That should be really good. And I will obviously report back post event on how it went, how it did, and whether I've decided to ban balloons or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know that banning balloons is the way to go. While I've played a lot of games with and against balloons, and I know they're good, I also feel like we need to see them do well at events for a while before something happens, because I think they're a problem. Whether or not they are a problem is open for debate. You know, people are going to argue both sides. That's not really sort of the interesting discussion to have here. I would like to see, if they are a problem, them addressed by Games Workshop. That would be ideal. I don't want tournament organisers to have to, like, homebrew fixes. So, I think it'll be good to see them in the meta for a little while. If they get to the point where they, you know, if looking from my 40k experience, there have been release armies that people have just looked at and gone, actually, if you're allowing this at the event, I'm just going to refund my ticket and I'm not going to come. If we get anywhere near that in mass, then I think maybe that's where we start to see people go, okay, let's fix this. But I want to give it a bit of time. Despite me thinking they're an abomination, to be clear, I think they're awful, they're way too good. I still want to have them, give them time to breathe, see how they go, and then see if Games Workshop decides to respond to them.
Yeah, and give chance for people to come up with ways of dealing with them as well. Because I'm sure there's something there. There always is something that everybody's missed that someone will come up with that actually deals with them quite well. And
they're a smarter player than me if they can think of it. And I've been trying.
Well, maybe it's not out there, but even if it isn't, as you say, then it should come through in the data quite clearly to our good friends on high. Hopefully, they decide to do something about it if that is necessary.
What do you mean, good friends? I've never talked to anyone on the Games Workshop Old World team, or any of the rules writers, for that matter, for any of their games. I will not have my good name sullied with having a relationship with them. I'm sure they're lovely people, but I don't want people to think.
And they brought Old World back, and they deserve some credit for that.
I am always happy to give Games Workshop their flowers when I think they've done good stuff, and they do a lot of good stuff. But I don't want to be tarred with the brush of I have a personal relationship with them, because I'm definitely going to call out the shit that's bad. So just going to put that firmly out there as well. But yeah, no, I think across the board, I'm really happy with Old World. Yeah. Now that I've jumped down your throat and been like, whoa, let's not put me there. Callum says someone needs to take 6 balloons to a Warhammer World event pronto. Yes. I'm not buying 6 actual balloons. But if anyone, if as the community, let me find when the next Warhammer World event is. And then if as a community we can just lend me 6. I don't want to keep them. I just want to borrow them. I want to borrow 6. Yeah, I'll go and I'll be the one to be like, oh well, let's just try this. Let's see how this goes. They're back in 8th edition 40k. They brought in rule of 3. It wasn't a thing in the base book, but someone took a load of hive tyrants to an event. I think the army was mostly just hive tyrants from memory, and that got it changed very, very quickly. So
Do you think they are? They can't just be looking at the Warhammer World events in
No,
terms
of
of.
course not. But
They
when
must be
something's
looking
on your
constantly.
doorstep, it's much harder to ignore.
Ignore it. Yeah.
Realistically, yeah. I
Someone comes into your living room and drops 6 balloons on your nice event.
the whole
And
meta's just changed, and the book's only just been released. So like, I'm not saying that they should have fixed them by now. Like that's not my point. To be clear, so we'll give it some time to breathe, as we'll see. Can you read out the Discord questions? Because I think we've got to that point in the evening, and it would be ideal to have those, and I can't do it because if I do, your face will go away, as will mine.
I absolutely can. Bear with me. So here we go. Right, here we go. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
I'm waiting.
I'm on the chat now. I'm just finding it. We talked about super tier lists last time. So that rat bastard says, how many extra points should Skaven players be allowed to bring to an event? 200% or 250%? He does qualify this and says, not because we need the help, but simply in acknowledgement of our divinely mandated superiority. Brackets, great horned rat emoji.
I see. Yes. No. Rat. Thank you, that rat bastard. I will say I'm not necessarily in favour of increased points per event, but I just don't like any homebrew fix. I just want Games Workshop to fix everything themselves, right? That's always the dream. So it's difficult for me to give an actual answer to that. I think out of all of the different ways that you can fix it, theoretically, giving a faction that's underperforming extra points, I can live with that more, actually. I think I prefer to go, oh, this faction has like a 35% win rate, give it an extra 250 points or whatever it ends up being. Probably
like
fine.
A handicap system, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't... Like, it's a lot less abusable than the fixes. So, like, my problem with homebrew, just in general, and why I don't engage with it typically, is because I think for homebrew, you have to engage with it in a way that is... You have to be trying to play within the spirit of the rules, and that's not how I build lists. What I like doing is finding the thing that's good and then building a list around it. And if you do that with homebrew, all you're doing is abusing rules that are less well tested and have more potential gaps in them. So it's like I don't feel like I can comfortably engage with homebrew. I like engaging with rules that are set, because then I can go, everyone has the same rules, everyone knows what's here. Anything that I found, other people can find as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, I agree with that. I think also if you start mandating or you start allowing additional points based on previous event performance, you're in a world where trying to administer that from a TO's perspective, try and check that everybody in the right faction has the right amount of points based on an arbitrary percentage or arbitrary addition of numbers. That's just a nightmare to even try and comprehend how I would keep on top of that. So yeah, I think I like the concept is good. I'm not sure how you'd implement it. That would need some more thought.
Sure. What's up next?
Next question is more scattered terrain, who says, is there a correlation between me being the first to ask a question and me being the best at Warhammer? If the answer is no, what quality do I possess that lets me succeed despite this terrible advice? So, unfortunately, they weren't the first question.
Yeah, Callum, there is a correlation, but you were second, which is why you keep getting second at events.
Which is the close order way.
Well, it's not the... I'm going to lose my mind. I don't know why I get so much grief for apparently coming second all the time. I've only come second twice. I've won 3 events. Drives me nuts.
My wins outranks my second places. I have more gold than silver.
At the event we were at the last event I won, your Saffron Slam. I was really worried. I was like, if I lose, I might actually try and throw a few more points, so there's no chance of me coming second, because I just can't face having more seconds than firsts. Cool. What's next?
Right, so this is from Strife. You are now joint chiefs of Arcane Journals at Games Workshop. Which armies of infamy are you including in a future book?
Good shout.
You also get to invent a unit and or character and or item for it. So I've got one straight off the bat.
Yeah.
I would be going straight in with a Blood Knights themed Army of Infamy set
Like a
around the
vampire
Red Keep.
heavy list.
Like loads of vampires, yeah. So
Yeah.
you can't take necromancers. You can't. You can shift. That maybe the unit that you would add in is a slightly toned down version of Blood Knights that you
Sure.
can put in core. You shift Blood Knights into special, and you just put loads of vampires in. They don't have bone dragons or anything like that. They're all on steeds. So you're not doing the kind of rezzing side. You're not doing the mass infantry side. And then putting like an army rule in, obviously because the Red Keep appears and the Blood Knights appear sort of out of nowhere. So maybe giving them ambush or scout or something like that would be quite cool.
Something like thralls, like halfway towards vampire, like a foot knight style unit would be really cool. So you can have more
that would be really cool.
in core, because obviously you can't have actual units of vampires in core. Obviously, like it'd be like having a unit of Space Marines, or like having an entire army of Space Marines in 40k. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, moving on.
But yeah, they'd be like super elite sort of core that are like really fast, really hard hitting, but you don't get many of them. That sort of thing.
Really fast. They can be 5-inch move infantry. I can live with that. Just like oh sure. I think you could just make them like basically like foot knights, but with like a couple points more because they're undead. Give them still just heavy armor, shield, hand weapon, or great weapons if they want it, or maybe halberds instead. That might make more sense in terms of being a fast unit. You could give them probably. Vampires are tough. They'd have to probably be toughness 3, but maybe only strength 3. I know they're meant to hit hard. I don't know. It'd be an interesting. I literally just said I don't like homebrew in general, and then I'm like, here, let me homebrew this unit. This would be really fun. Man, I kind of want. I want to see Vampire Coasts. That'd be cool. We do see people frothing about Vampire Coasts and just being like, oh, do you think it's going to come? No, not anytime soon. But like maybe in 6 or 8 years, I could see that. You know, who could say?
They're so in Total War, their infantry roster, or their roster in their unit roster in general is so like mad.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Yeah. So,
but I think that would be like a whole new faction. Really, that doesn't really fit with.
Oh yeah. No, it would be a new faction. It wouldn't be vampire counts. So I think let's just rattle through, because I think this is a fun idea. Let's rattle through armies of the old world. Try and do one for each. We don't have to go in detail, but like for Beastmen, I'd like to see something that was more like actual mounted, like a fast horde, because Beastmen feel pretty slow. So whereas when I think of like a horde of Beastmen, I'd like to see like maybe more Centaur and faster units in that way. Maybe we see something like an equivalent for the Berserkers that you can get for Wolves of the Sea. So you've just got fast, hard-hitting units. They're already fast units, but like maybe make them harder hitting, something like that. Have you got one in mind for dwarves? Anything that comes to mind?
I was thinking, actually, looking at the demons ones. That's just the one that I had in mind. You could very quickly get an arcane journal that's god specific. And just sort of buff the unit rosters for just increase the number of choices in each of the unit rosters for each of the different gods. And you wouldn't even necessarily have to come up with loads of new rules, but just to give them a little bit more choice within the roster for each of the different gods. I think that would be quite cool. Or an army of infamy that forced you to take a greater demon of each god. So it was like an all 4 gods combined thing, which would be quite cool, I think.
Sure. Fair. Well, let's not go through all of them. There's actually a lot of armies now that I say that out loud.
20 armies.
So I've managed to open it on a second screen. If Steve says, if you could pick a points value for peak old world, what would it be, and why is it 2,600? We kind of covered this already. I think it'd be 2,400. I like 2,000 because it means you have to play with limitations. But the bigger the army, the less good the individual units are. So I wouldn't be opposed to a little bit bigger, get more scoring units in.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just that balance between size of army and length of game. Because 2,000 you can play quite quickly. Most people get their games done in 2.5 hours, and that means it actually feels quite snappy. the more points you add in, just the more choices and more decisions you've got to make and things like that. So it just risks slowing the game down, doesn't it?
That is true. Steve also says, if you're in a new ITV game show where it was a real game of Guess Who, where it's 30 people on each team who both guests and were the characters, how would you disguise yourself as the most generic person? Also, what would be your first 2 questions?
First 2 questions.
And also, how would you describe... I think I'm already there. Like, especially within the Warhammer space. I'm a white guy with glasses, short hair, and a beard. Like, yeah. Oh, is the guy... Has he got a beard? Okay, knocks down nobody.
Everybody stayed up.
Yeah. So, I think I'm pretty much already there. We all kind of look the same to some extent. How about yourself? You got any thoughts on disguise?
I would need to grow a beard to become a generic Warhammer player.
So you could just fit
in.
You got the glasses
maybe
already.
A goatee or something like that. Would be quite cool.
Goatees are not a norm.
No, that would differentiate me, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'd probably need to pile on a few pounds. I'm a bit too skinny, I think,
That's
for the
fair.
standard. Although, no, I mean, you could argue that I'd probably go down the route of like scrawny teenager style gamer. That probably works.
Sure.
If that was allowed.
That said, I will say, and you see it more in 40k events because there's a lot more people. But the archetype of the fat sweaty nerd is not. Yeah, there's a good chunk of people who are very healthy when you go to events, which is always inspiring to see.
Especially with 40k, I mean, just as a side point, it's becoming a bit more mainstream.
Sure.
And we can argue about whether that's good or not. I think it's good. And that is opening up the game to new, types of people. That sounds a bit weird, but new people that previously wouldn't necessarily engage with the game because of its reputation as being super nerdy. And it still 100% is.
Now we've got white man who plays sports, so we got some real diversity. He said pithily. All right. The first questions, I think it would be difficult. I think you just go through the general. I'm assuming it's laid out like a normal Guess Who, where there's a mixture of ethnicities and genders. So you'd probably go down those lines and just try and take out the biggest chunk of people by guessing on demographics, which is a boring answer, but that's probably how I would do it. And then Jordan says, when are we getting a British food tier list? People get really heated about British food on the internet, which is funny because the people who are shitting on it obviously haven't tried it, because it does look brown, but it does taste delicious. Now, a lot of it may well kill you in your 30s. That is true. But, all the stuff, and I'm not talking about like eel pie, that's eaten in like one pub in London. And now I'm going to get people who are like, actually, I like eel pie, and I live 4 miles from the centre of London. I think that's like a very specific cultural thing from a very specific area. So I'm not talking about those specifics. And there's an
island in Richmond in London called Eel Pie Island. There's a whole island, and all the pubs around that part of Richmond, which is a very posh bit of London, they all serve eel pie. You can get it everywhere, and you get it all down East London as well. They serve pie mash as well.
I've never tried it. It looks unappealing, and the fact that the gravy isn't gravy coloured upsets me. So I'd struggle to want to try it, and I'm adventurous. I'll try any food once. I would try it and not be happy about trying it. I think it's
and as someone that works on London's rivers, anything we're eating out of that river, I'd probably stick to.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Meat and pastry is not a basis for an entire system of cuisine. Oh, all right. First of all, yes, it is. So how dare you? Second of all, that's not all we have. We've got fish and batter and various other things. Beans on toast. Fantastic.
I like where we have a kind of taken a culture elsewhere in the world
that you can get here in the UK, because we have a huge range of foods that you can get from. We've got for example, there's a big Asian demographic in Leicester, for example. You've got the Golden Mile, some of the best curry houses in the country. You can wherever you go, there is going to be variety, and there is going to be good variety as well. And this is in no way to rag on other countries, but from what I've heard, America, you'd struggle to get like authentic takeaways from some other cuisines unless you're in very specific cities. Like I think Chicago is meant to be really good for accurate like Chinese food and stuff. But I have heard that outside of various places, it's hard to get good food. Whereas here, we've got a lot of people who do really good food that's representative.
Yes. And we've personalised it. We've made it British.
Well,
Made
I
our
was
own.
thinking about my favourite is going to a restaurant where you look in through the window and there's no white people in there, and you go, this is definitely a good place because everyone in this, let's say Taiwanese restaurant looks like they probably grew up eating Taiwanese food, at a guess.
And they've chosen to go there. Then you're like, yes, this is good.
Yeah. I mean, like the more white people in a restaurant that isn't serving white people food is generally a sign that it is a more generic version of the product. And I like trying to get the proper stuff. And Nottingham's pretty good for food. We're not a huge city, but we've got a lot of really great food.
Yeah.
Stargazy pie. Dusty says people seem to bring up Stargazy pie, which I've literally never heard of. Have you heard of this? Stargazy.
I have never heard of Stargazy pie.
Let's have a look here.
Furiously Googles Stargazy
Cornish dish. All right. Well, the Cornish are kind of just like a country to themselves, or maybe some of them wish they would. For those of you not in the UK, it's not. Think of them as like Texas. Cornwall would be tempted to secede from the Union of the Great Britain. Anyway, so it's sardines, eggs, and potatoes.
Views of all members of Close Order, as he rags on the Cornish for no apparent reason other than they got mentioned in the chat and they just caught some strays.
I think. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so it's sardines, eggs, potatoes, and pastry. That sounds like the worst thing I've ever heard of. And I've been on the internet for a long time, so you know that I mean it. That sounds horrendous. Fish pie was
the photos are literally pies with fish heads sticking out the top, with the eyes still attached. I assume the stargazing is the fish sticking out the top, looking up at the sky.
Yeah,
which I'm just not entirely sure I'm happy about.
Yeah. What's really funny is, and it's obviously to do with, as the stream goes on for longer and longer, it picks up more viewers. There are more people listening to this than there were listening to the talk about the Saffron Slam. How does that make you feel?
What's the point? Why are we even here?
Why are we even here? Well, for British food tier lists, apparently. But yeah, I just want to round it out with, I on YouTube, I flick through shorts a lot. And one of the ones, or I like a lot of like people discovering food. That's something that comes up quite a lot, and it's interesting to see. I like seeing reactions, not the really overblown ones where you take a mouthful of food and you're like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever had. It's like chips with vinegar. But John Cena, who is turns out actually the best wrestling actor, fight me. He's actually entertaining, unlike The Rock. There's my take.
Oh, come on. You leave Dwayne out of this, Ed.
Why? He plays one character. You can't even argue. He plays one
Can
character.
You smell what the Rock is cooking.
Here's the thing. I don't dislike that character. But I don't need to see it in every film. It is there in every film, and it's always the same. Anyway, I quite like John Cena, and the more things I see him in, I'm like, you know what? This guy's pretty good, actually. Anyway, he tried beans on toast for the first time, and he was like, you know what? It's not bad.
Did you have cheese on it?
Glowing recommendation. I think we've reached the end of the stream, and I will say goodnight. Anything